Hi, my name is Annette Kinship. I'm coming to you today to introduce graphite pencil drawing tools. This isn't going to be a demonstration in a complete form of how to draw and get your best shading and things like that. It's more about the tools and how you would get your best drawing from those tools. Before I take you to the tools, let's talk about where I've come from so that maybe you can relate to me better. In elementary school, I definitely was interested in art, and then in high school, I took classes, signed up for them. I wished I could draw like other people or other children my age, and I could not. While raising my children, I didn't have time to draw. And then one day, 7 children later, they were young, I thought I'd try. I purchased a little bit of sketch paper, pencils, and erasers, nothing much but number twos, and I didn't even know the other kinds existed. I found 3-minute windows when I could try to draw. I finally got out one drawing after who knows how long that was not so bad. It was a portrait. Later, when only 3 children were still living at home, my oldest daughter, who had moved on to her own, was having her own children, gave me a big basket full of pencils and art supplies, things I didn't even know existed. Then I peered into a pencil art book of another woman's work to get some clues. Next thing I know, I was drawing. Well, I might say. Soon I was asked to place my portrait art into an art and history museum. They then later asked if I would teach art classes, and I did that. I started with 2-year-olds and ended up teaching also adults. I commissioned several pieces over the years for graphite pencil art. Now I will take you into my world that is equal to the perfect bath, drawing time, and you too can draw. Drawing is a 2D form of art. We're going to talk about sketching to very realistic in the pencil world. What I mean at the top by drawing for the masses is that I believe that there's many people out there that want to draw but just assume they can't or say they can't. But I believe that if you really want to, there's a way to get around that by learning techniques, by learning about the different tools that you can get. You don't have to have perfect tools, but we can talk about that. Let's talk about first the paper types. This is only 3 different ones. You can buy a Bristol style, drawing style, and sketching style. We're not going to get into the details about it. There's more to know. And then there's pencils, dark ones that are soft, lighter ones are harder, and we'll talk about why that is. And then we need blenders and erasers. Blenders help to take that graphite pencil and move it around and cause your shadings, etc., etc. Erasers, on the other hand, will take off what you put on there by mistake or cause things like hair, like you can remove some of the pencil shading that you did to create the hair. We'll talk more about that again. So here we are on the page of paper. We've got your Bristol papers. There's different styles of Bristol paper. Bristol paper has thicknesses that are different and smoothnesses that are different. All your papers might come thinner, thicker. We've got the drawing papers that might be thinner and they might have more feathery kind of smoothness. Sketch paper is definitely feathery. The newsprint, that's kind of fun to draw on. Some people actually use them as their finished art, but most people just use it as a practice paper. Again, here we have Bristol paper, drawing paper, and sketch paper. Bristol has a tendency to be the smoother. It's more detail accommodating. Its shading on the smooth is more realistic. The drawing paper can look fairly realistic, but it is more fibrous, as I said, or feathery than Bristol. It's semi-detail accommodating. And the sketch paper is very fibrous, feathery, and has a sketch look at the end. It's rougher or more textured, and I don't mean it's rough, it's just you're going to get more of that sketch look. Paper is the white of all your drawings or the lights of your drawing. The variant of dark to lights come from the variety of dark blacks, which are the soft pencils, to the lighter grays, which are the harder pencils. The blacker the pencil color, the softer it gets. The lighter the gray color, the harder the pencil becomes. This is a graphite pencil graph that I designed to help you better understand. In the center is an H. Yes, there's an H pencil standing for, I believe, hard. B, bold. So hard this is your lightest hard pencil. HB has a little bit of boldness to it, but it's still on your gray end. As you come this way from H to 2H, which is your standard pencil for school, 3H, 4H, 5H, 6H, 7H, 8H, and 9H, they all get lighter. They're all the gray tones, and they're harder, so there's a lot of information there that you need to know about that. F is actually sharp. It's a sharp black color. Now let's go back over here to the B's, the bold. The B goes to the right here on our graph. And this is going to be our 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, 8B, 9B, the darker or the blacker tones. And then you can even get an ebony black that's soft. So over here we have an F sharp that is a nice fine line, but it's black. We have our H's that go up to a 9H in our gray tones. They get lighter and lighter up to 9, and they get darker and darker from the 2B to the 9B. So it's a number graph just to help you see it. For variant color, the lightest grays to the black. Remember, white is your paper. I'm going to repeat that in a different way, as this makes all the difference in your drawing. H pencils, as the numbers increase, the color gets lighter and the graphite gets harder. B pencils, as the numbers increase, the color gets darker and the graphite gets softer. The H pencils indent paper, which can be an asset or a disturbance. An F pencil adds a crisp, sharp, black color as it is hard like the H's. An ebony black pencil adds deepest black color. Now we understand that we need to choose our paper for texture and smoothness, and that the color of the paper is also our white. We need to also choose what variant of lights to darks we want to purchase in graphite pencil to get started. And that you can start with a smaller variation of color, such as 4H to 6B. Next, we want to obtain shadows and highlights, so we need to learn about tortillons and erasers. All right, we've talked about paper and pencils. Now we're going to talk about blenders and erasers. The blenders are also called tortillons. The top right ones in the blender area are kind of like a compressed paper and then shaped into points so that when you go to move your pencil around, which your soft B pencils are going to move much easier than your hard gray ones. And they're going to help you do your shading. The erasers, on the other hand, will of course pull off anything that you put on by mistake, but you got to be careful. Some papers just absorb that pencil and it's not going to come off again, especially with hard grays or your hard F, because it leaves indentations and it just doesn't come off as easy. So you need your erasers for that, but you also need them just to to pull pencil back off. Like say if you're making a leaf, and the easiest thing to do is just shade that whole area with a tortillon, and you haven't actually put a pencil to it, just the shade, and then you pull off your highlights with your erasers. So there's a lot more to that in the demonstration, the official demonstration that we'll get to. We won't be getting to any demonstrations on this video, but I do want you to know that we're going to demo the tortillons and demonstrate the erasers as well as the pencils. If you'd like to pause for a moment and go to YouTube and see this pencil drawing that I did of Einstein, it's not that great of a video. It was just with a phone years ago, but you can get an idea of what you can accomplish with pencils. By remembering the different papers and pencil variations, here we can now see the shadows and highlights that increase the 3D movements rounding out from erasers and blenders so that it doesn't look as flat like a 2D as just a sketch might. As you remember, we have different types of paper: Bristol Smooth, drawing, which is still kind of smooth but might have a little bit more fiber in it, and your sketch paper that is more fibrous and it will look like a sketch. And we also have your pencils that come in a variety of light grays to dark blacks. Your tortillons that will blend the pencil on your paper to give you the look of shading and things like that, and your erasers that will lift off what you don't want and or to create your highlights. Importantly, what we are all afraid of is applying the proportions, finding the balance, and seeing the perspective and putting it on the paper. There are ways to accomplish this and let go of the fear, or as some say, false evidence appearing real. So here we are with proportions, the balance, the perspective that's hard to figure out. There are different ways of being able to find that, and there's the graphing or the grid drawing. Here's a YouTube video that I found that you might enjoy watching to learn how to do that grid work. The center one, I just showed it that you can get your grid a little larger. You put your grid on the photo if you're using a photo and on your paper. There's a style of doing that. We're not going to talk about that or show that in this. We'll demonstrate it later, and you can find YouTube videos other than mine to learn that. And then there's the far right on this page. We've got eyeing the grid or drawing, seeing the grid in your mind, like seeing the halfway mark, seeing where you want to put it on the paper. And we can talk about that more later. Now that you are aware of paper, pencils, erasers, tortillons, grid work, larger grid work, or seeing the grid, you can begin. In starting, you have to think about your layout. You have to think about the centering. What part of the photo or the thing that you're drawing is going to be in your center? You also need to make a decision. Are you going to draw to the edge of the paper with your whole piece, or are you going to draw into a frame set in the center, such as if you're going to bring your whole picture 1 inch in from the edges? That means you would have a framework of your white paper or your whatever paper color you're using as your framework on the edge, and then you create your proportions in the center of that rather than to the edge. Consider now these important thoughts in seeing the lightest of the lights, or whites, and the darkest of darks, your blacks, in your subject that you're going to draw from. Doing this will allow you to transform images of 3D to paper 2D and create from 2D photos to your pencil. Below is a link to a Frank Sinatra drawing I did if you'd like to look at that. Things to know and remember. Choose your paper and your pencil variation. Have your tortillons and erasers ready. Clean them with sandpaper boards. Keep your pencils sharpened unless you need them softened. Remember, your white is your paper. Be careful to not contaminate those areas. The pencil will move, but you can erase. Do not be afraid to go dark. Erase for hair and highlights with fine edges of erasers. Your H pencils leave grooves. Stay away from the hard lines till you are sure you want it there. Sketch your shapes with soft B pencils or outline your proportions with a dirty tortillon. Again, I'm not going to put any of the demonstrations in this video, but one of them will be drawing an eye. Refer back to this video anytime you need to as we go through the demonstrations later. You want to remember to choose yes to detail or not to detail. How far to detail is in the artist's license. Having it appealing to others in its finished state is only necessary if you want to sell your bath time. Whether you are a Picasso, a Van Gogh, Leonardo, Dali, or just want to be able to put on paper something you like is your choice, but anyone can draw something, and with this information, so can you. Remember, the supplies are important. When I first started to draw, I was doing more pencil portraits. Here's a few of them. Robert Kennedy, Julia Roberts and her twins when they were first born, and Bob Marley. They are some of my first ones that I did with the pencil drawings with some of the techniques that I'm showing you from this video, and just to inspire you and remind you, you too can draw. Thank you for coming to visit my drawing studio. I hope you come back for more or look at some of my other videos on food and nutrition and song. Till then, if you feel like clicking subscribe, that always helps. And this is Annette, Kinship. You can find me at nexus.com. The freebie classes will be here on YouTube. The subscription courses will be available starting November 15th at $20 per month, including a choice bonus session of food, sewing, painting, or any other ones that we have. You'll have some choices there. Listed on nexus.com, Health Solutions will be those choices. Paid master classes will be 6-week courses at a lump fee. Other classes will be available soon with the specific details, say recipes and different things, maybe an eye or an eyebrow or an ear. As far as drawing or painting, sewing, we'll get into some details of specific sewing instructions, and then actually sew something, maybe some small stuff at first. Well, hope to see you there. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That always helps. Thanks. Bye.